Beelzebub's Buns channel here, and we are looking at the video game named Wreckfest. Wreckfest is developed by Bugbear Entertainment and published by THQ Nordic. The thing is, this game came out back in the summer of 2018, but I have just now noticed this game due to it being available to play for free temporarily, thanks to the Xbox free-to-play days. But if you would rather play it on PC, you can purchase this now as of January 25th, 2020 for 60% off on Steam, making the price tag an easy $15.99. And I'm about to show you why this game is worth that price point of $15.99. Keep in mind the gameplay that you are seeing is captured from an Xbox One X. I didn't realize until after capturing the gameplay that this game is also available on PC. Therefore, the performance that you see in this video is not reflective of what I played on the PC version of Wreckfest. With that said, the only major differences that I saw between the console version and the PC version was that, of course, the frames per second were much more stable on the PC, and the load times are significantly less on the PC when changing game modes in career mode or selecting a different track to start a new race in the custom game settings. Although I'm not sure what the deal is, when you first start up this game, no matter if you're playing on the PC version or the console version, it does take you a little while to get to the main menu screen. On the PC, I'm talking about close to a minute, but the console version may have you waiting for the main menu screen for a little over a minute, not 2 minutes, and it's not a duration that should deter you from wanting to play the game. It's just you will have to give it a little bit of time to start up, and hopefully in the future the load times can improve. Other than that though, let's go ahead and talk about this awesome game. While Wreckfest may lack hand models for your driver in the cockpit camera view, there is something that I absolutely love about the game settings on the console version. And it's because of this controller preset that I'm about to tell you about that I am able to overlook the lack of driver hand models in first person view. When you go to the game's difficulty settings, you can change the shifting setting to manual and turn off traction control. That's nothing new, you can do that in most racing games. But once you select manual shifting, you can then select different controller presets from the settings menu located on the main menu screen. You can go over to the controller preset 6, and this allows the right analog stick to act as your gear shift. You will press up on the stick to progress through your gears, or press down on the stick to downshift, and I absolutely love this setting. I would map the right analog stick to this configuration on Dirt 2 back in the year of 2009, but not all racing games on console will allow you to have this type of preset. Thankfully, Wreckfest does, and I recommend that you use this setting if you want to feel like you're in more control of your car in the game. It has this very visceral feeling whenever you use this kind of setting. Definitely check it out. As I was playing Wreckfest, I couldn't help but be reminded about how this game feels like a game from the mid to late 90s and early 2000s. There is something about the main menu being a no-nonsense, get-you-straight-into-the-action type of menu, with some rock music in the background that seems to never end, and the music inherently makes you want to hurry up and select an option. Once you start a race or a demolition derby from your career mode, there isn't a story about someone that you play as wanting to be the world's famous demolition derby driver, or a loose cannon driver who prides themselves on running other drivers off of the track. The driver in Wreckfest is a blank slate, which allows us as the players to just enjoy the game for what it is, and not invest our time into some tacky quality story. The physics and the gameplay all around remind me very much of the original Destruction Derby from 1995 and Destruction Derby 2 from 1996 on the original PlayStation. But I know that those two Destruction Derby games may not have the memory implanted in older gamers' minds as much as the franchise Twisted Metal does. And that is fair. Twisted Metal did come out the same year as the original Destruction Derby, and there are definitely tracks in Wreckfest, like this one named Hellride, that will certainly remind you of some type of imposing and devilish foreboding theme that we saw in many edgy games back in the day. That's why this game Wreckfest really reminds me of one of those mid to late 90s, early 2000s games. Okay, I totally thought that was a ramp right there. It was my first time playing on this track. But it's not a ramp. Don't make the same mistake I did. In any case, if you've never played those games from back then, you'll still find this game to be quite unique and refreshing, since Wreckfest gets you into the action and moves you along through different game modes without feeling too campy. The first races in career mode will have you complete just 3 laps, therefore the game isn't trying to force you to master every single apex of one track, especially when you consider the fact that the other drivers want to see you dead. Wreckfest has its tailored tempo that gives you just enough excitement and experience on that one track to where you will likely want to go into custom game to select that track that you just played on so you can have a few more awesome races. I know I did, and the great thing about going into custom games on Wreckfest is that you could still earn credit to your actual character. Your blank slate character, that is. One of the other fantastic details in Wreckfest are the various skyboxes. This beautiful sunset here reveals to me that the developers put a lot of pride in their game Wreckfest. They didn't just stop at creating detailed wreck models, embellished sound effects, and some terrifying terrain for cars to race on. The developers put forth confidence and effort into their own art department. Now, what about the audio? Does it get the same treatment in Wreckfest as the artistic visual style does? While comparing visual and audio is like comparing felines to canines, surely Wreckfest considers both audio and visuals to be important. The sound of the engine in your car you start the game with has a droning engine sound that reminds you that it's going to give it all it has in its short lifespan until another dislodged engine block finds itself impaled into yours. The engine sounds are pretty good from what I've heard so far. I would just have liked to have heard some deafening backfire sound effects from the pipes, which can truly immerse you into feeling like you're at your local town dirt races. Sometimes, however, when you find yourself in the air and you eventually land on the tarmac, the sound may unfortunately be dampened for a reason I can chalk up as an audio glitch. Other times, your hunk of metal called a car can sound like you are undoubtedly putting one hellacious beating on your car to a point where you almost feel sorry for it. And then, once you start accelerating, the engine starts a more sad, droning sound effect again. To include the sound quality in another example, I first have to explain that this game is strong in its ability to retain hundreds and hundreds of debris parts on the track as you continue to attempt to complete the few laps that you need. If you happen to catch another driver's fallen bumper on your grill and part of their bumper is scraping the pavement, then what you'll hear is some abrasive sound effects that sound as if you are dragging metal across silicon carbide. This makes you want to do some evasive maneuvers, which will most likely wind you up with your 4 tires in the air and your head dragging across the finish line, hopefully. As far as customizing the race settings in Wreckfest, you can pit yourself against some angry bus drivers and big rigs if you would like a whole new type of challenge maneuvering around opponents with elongated vehicles. Some races you may eventually find a hole and squeeze through only to encounter the more determined to win bus drivers who see your tiny car as a snack. In Wreckfest, I do not see endurance races being all that long. This isn't a 24 hours at Circuit de la Sarthe competition, but rather, were you able to keep everything together for 3 minutes on a dirt track in a town in which you just have to question the people who run this kind of event? One last point I'll make about Wreckfest is that if you are skilled in racing games and you use the controller preset on the console or the PC like I showed earlier in this video, then there is a good chance that you'll be able to burn the other drivers on the track and get away from them pretty easily if you have them on the setting of amateur, which is medium difficulty. I recommend switching the drivers to the hardest level being professional and having the AI drive A-class cars, like you see in this video. This will ensure you receive an entertaining challenge as you try to evade the animalistic drivers that you are racing against and trying to eliminate them in the Demolition Derby events. I hope I showed you why this game is worth picking up if you are looking for some automobile carnage to satisfy you. There is extra content that you can purchase like in this picture here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.